strikes the same.
Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. I hope you enjoyed that little intro that I did, although it might have been a little too cringy. Let me know. I know you will. Happy New Year's, by the way. This might be the first video that I do this year, and I wanted to do something a little bit more special this time. Not that the cartoons are not special, I know they are, but this time I wanted to do something regarding a little bit behind the scenes stuff. Right now there's a collection event happening, the Fight Night collection event, which has everything to do with Pathfinder, and as you may have guessed, I did a little bit of stuff in it, mainly some animation for the character selection for Pathfinder. The one where he's fighting specters, and he's in the rain, he's got the hat, and he's got the mastiff, and he's shooting specters. I wanted to share a little bit of the work that went into that, because it's one of the funnest animations that I've done. I did a video about, let's see, a year ago, where people would ask me, what's your favorite animation that you've done? And I think it might be this one. It's not the most difficult animation that I've done, but it might be my favorite one just because of all the work that went into it and the variety of disciplines that have to do with putting something like this together. So hopefully I can give you a little bit of insight into that. Hey Oreo. Before we do that, however, there's one thing that I wanted to share with you. One day before the Pathfinder Stories from the Allens went out, I posted on my Twitter a question for my followers @_Moipara, where I wanted to see what you guys thought, what the plot would be for the stories. And a few of you replied, actually a lot of you replied. There wasn't one that was like, it nailed it on the head. So I'm gonna go ahead and share some of the ones that I thought were particularly funny. And after that, we'll get into the Pathfinder stuff. Alright, so here we go. The first one is from Brandon Sanders. And he says, I really feel like we're gonna get a hint on who Pathfinder's creator is. So right off the bat, you know, that was pretty good. We did get a little bit of that, and we're gonna get more in the upcoming lore book, which Manny has been working on, as well as the rest of the writers. They've done an amazing job, and I can't wait for that. So that was a pretty good start. I was thinking, okay, some of these guys might actually get the plot before this comes out tomorrow. Then we move on to Xander, and he says, Caustic revives Forge and throws him into the Apex games. I keep on thinking of the visual of Forge, or Caustic reviving Forge. I know he's a scientist, but... and then throwing him into the Apex games. The next one comes from user... and he says, Caustic dies in a car crash. That's hilarious. I don't know what that has to do with the Apex story, but that was actually pretty funny. Then we have Long Wool Coat. Forge is Caustic's dad. For some reason I got a lot of Forge replies. Guys, in case you don't know, Forge...
Look, the legends are great and they deserve respect, but they've never faced anyone like that.
Actually, let's not get into that. Then we have Clinical. Dude, you guys' names are amazing. Fro is not allowed to comment. Frozen Fro. And he didn't comment, by the way. David, I know you follow my tweets and you didn't want to comment. Either you knew the plot and you didn't want to spoil it, or you didn't want to look bad when you got it wrong. From Larissa, Crypto and Caustic are actually stepbrothers. Again, it is amazing the stuff that you guys come up with. I know that some of these have to do with some lore pieces that you're putting together, but from Angelo, #the Snyder Cut. Octane dies for rushing into a team all by himself. Yeah, I think I've heard of that.
Heavy machine gun.
Then from Nick Skater, #Save Daredevil. You guys, I love that you added hashtags to your names. Hopefully the story of how Pathfinder killed his creator. Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji, fingers crossed. Oh my gosh, dude. After that, I figured, okay, these are not getting any closer. But these are the ones that I thought were funny. There's a lot of them. You guys can look at that thread and see So I decided to shout out a bunch of people because it's funny that you guys replied with so many creative stuff. A lot of them were actually like pages in depth, but I didn't want to make this video too long. I could go on for a long time, but I'd rather get into the animation, which is what we're here for. So let's move into that. Alright, so here we are with the Pathfinder timeline. Now the goal here is to make a really cool animation that will be used for the character selection. And it's important to note that not every single animation in Apex goes through this crazy process. However, the ones that are directly tied to lore do have a bit of a complex process because they usually have to be very custom, and for that we usually need to have new features. So the main goal for these animations is of course to be as appealing as possible, but also to pay homage to the stories from the Outlands and to see if we can directly tie them to the short, or to make a really strong callback so that when the player equips the skin, he can remember, oh yeah, that was a really cool part in the story. So of course, as you can guess, everything starts with a story. So as it happened, I came across a paragraph that sparked an idea. This happened right around page 5. It went something like this. I'm gonna see if I can do my table read voice.
Maldera sneaks up on the mobster and boxes him out. Pathfinder mimics Maldera and punches his own mobster, giving him a thumbs up. They run onto the prisoner transport.
Not bad. Do you guys remember this scene in the movie? So already I'm starting to get a few ideas, and with a little bit of luck, they can hopefully become a cool animation. Around this time I'm also learning that the Pathfinder skin is going to be like a detective skin that's going to have like this Noir. How do you even say this word? I have no idea. English is my second language, so a Noir vibe to it. And he's going to have a cool hat, and just looking at the skin, it has like this like techie trench coat vibe to it, and it's got like the cool red tie and the hat and the mustache. It looks pretty cool. So it's giving me some serious Dick Tracy vibes. Okay, so at this point I feel like I have enough ingredients to make an initial concept. So I know that I'm gonna have specters. I know that there's gonna be a skin that has a hat that I can interact with, and also there's gonna be like this punching or boxing element to the story that I can probably use as one of the beats. So now is when the fun but also the scary part begins, because now I need to make a concept that is going to be used to have not only the animation department but other departments buy into it. Alright guys, so here we are. This is the thing that I present to the animation team and to the larger group to see if they like the concept and if we can move forward with the idea. So I tried to get this as close as I can to what I envision the final animation will look like. So we have our specters here, they have a weapon. In this case it used to be the Sentinel originally, but I had to change that to the Mastiff because if you think about the character selection, it's usually only one character. So here I'm cramming 3 characters in the exact same space. And if you were to look at this from like a top view, you would see that they're stacked up right against each other. So I had to reduce the space by using the Mastiff, which is a lot shorter than what I originally wanted, which was a Sentinel, because there was just no room for all of these characters to have a really large weapon. So here you will see the beats as originally I laid them out, and you can see the animation is very choppy, but it gives most of the beats that I was thinking to communicate this idea. So another thing that you'll notice is that I've also added this little hat model on Pathfinder, and this is as far as my modeling skills go. That's why I'm an animator, not a modeler. But I do this so that I can communicate to tech art. I'm gonna need a specific rig so that I can interact with the hat, something that Pathfinder wouldn't be able to do on his base skin. Also, you will notice that down here there's a Spectre who is on the floor. I originally wanted him to be blasted and laid down on the floor dead, but then Effects came up with the idea of let's just blow him up, that way he's out of the composition, and I was like, cool. Another thing that they came up with that was awesome was that they wanted to have rain in this character selection, because there's a constant rain element in this short. So they're like, let's add some rain here and let's tie that even closer to the short. And I was like, dude, for sure, if there's bandwidth, absolutely. And I think that ended up looking really cool. So this is a very blocky concept for the team to see. And once they give the go ahead, then I can start animating this, which will take weeks to do. So this has to basically communicate, this is what I'm planning on doing. Is there a budget for this? Can we do this? Once I get the green light from all of them, then I start to get into the nitty-gritty of animation. So let's take a look at that. This is how the animation looks like at this point. Here, I've already been animating this for about 4 to 5 weeks. And there's a lot of stuff that has already happened. Like you can see things are a lot smoother now. We were counting on doing this using motion capture, but because of coronavirus, we weren't able to do that. I think I did a little bit of motion capture on the Spectres and maybe a little bit on Pathfinder, but honestly, most of this had to be hand keyed just because we suddenly didn't have that tool, which is fine. It's just sometimes easier to start with a good base of motion capture, but when you can't do that, then you have to hand key it. So even though this is already looking so much cooler compared to the previous version, you can see that there's obviously some crazy mistakes, right? So for instance, the gun is not being held by the characters, it's floating on both of them. There's like random ammunition here. There's no grapple. Everything is just kind of implied, but you can see that this is getting a lot closer to what this is going to look like in the end. And at this point, other disciplines can also start working, because at this point this is already plugged into the game, so everybody else can start working on it. They can start lighting this, they can start to do effects on this, and we work in parallel to the very end, which will come a few weeks after that. Basically at this point I'm waiting for the final skin to come so that I can have the hat, and so that I can know exactly what the geometry is, so that I can worry about not having penetrations and stuff. And that's what this next part is about. So after a long time of planning and animating, we are finally to the polish phase, and here we are. This is how it looks. This is how the animation looked like at this phase, and you can see obviously the textures are missing, but pretty much everything is working the way it's supposed to. And I just want to point out a few things that happen at this stage. So here you will notice that I have been given the final look for the character, his final model. So now I'm able to make sure that everything is working as intended. Silhouette works good. I now am able to animate the hat here. You will notice these are the little things that happen during polish. See how he grasps the hat a little bit and everything moves? It's the little things like that. Polish is basically all those little noodly details. For instance, when he strikes the Spectre, you will notice that the hat actually lifts from his head a little bit, and then it lands right here. Also, you will notice that the spools have a little bit of secondary animation when he strikes. Is those little things that add just that extra layer of polish to the animation. Another cool thing here is, for instance, the grapple. When we first launched Apex Legends, Pathfinder's grapple could only go from point A to point B in a straight line. So TechArt actually had to create a specific grapple rig for me to use here, so that it can do this curvature, which I took full advantage of right here. See, when he grasped that gun, the Mastiff, you can see this like extra bouncy tension here. It's just the little details that you're not supposed to pick up on the first time you see it, but if you look closely at the animation, you start to notice tiny little details here and there that are supposed to add more feel to this and just to make it more appealing overall. Also, the way that this thing curves like this, the original grapple couldn't do this, but now because of TechArt, now we can. And finally we have the Spectre being destroyed here, and effects will take over at this point. Notice also the little shell. I don't know if people notice that when the Mastiff fires, there's a little shell that goes off. Anyways, that's just a little detail. So at this point my work is kind of over, and all I need to do is make sure that once all the elements are working together, once the effects are in, the lighting, the final composition is in, that everything looks and feels as I intended it to look. And at this point everybody has done an amazing job, so I have no doubt that it's gonna work well. But again, you don't know until you finally see the piece, and hopefully all of the pieces have come together. So let's take a look at that. Alright, this is how the animation looks when everything is all said and done. So it has all the elements now. It has the rain, it has the cool background, it has the final look on the skin. It has even little raindrops bouncing off the skin, which is awesome. And it has the final effects on the characters. the explosion. I mean, all the elements at this point have come together, and I honestly think this piece turned out really cool. Internally, we were all super excited about the Fight Night, so we wanted to do something special because we all love Pathfinder, and we were super excited about the Fight Night event, so we wanted to give it that extra level of polish so that when characters could equip this weapon, or sorry, this skin, they would remember that story, and hopefully that has been communicated by now. We do this mostly out of, caring for the players so that they have that extra level of, oh yeah, that was cool, I like this skin. I mean, the skin is cool, but it also reminds me of that other thing. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this little walkthrough of the process of creating one of these animations. Like I said, not every animation in Apex is done this way. This one is extra complicated because it has that extra element of tying into the lore and rolling out specifically with marketing and for a specific event. But it was really fun to create, and it was fun to put this video together. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been probably my favorite animation. It's not the most difficult one I've done, but it had a lot of pretty tricky elements to it, and I had a blast animating this. I hope you guys liked it. Leave me a comment if you can. I'd love to read your comments. I can't say that I get through all of them because there's literally thousands of comments that come in, but I do try my best to read most of them, and I even reply on some of them or give them a heart if they're particularly funny. If you can, subscribe to the channel. The channel has been growing super quickly over the last, I would say, 12 months. And it would be cool if this year we could reach 500,000. That's 500,000. I don't know if that's possible, but if we do, then maybe I can, I don't know, do something fun to celebrate. Let me know what you guys would like to see for the 500,000 subscribers. That sounds insane. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this. Until next time, take care, guys.
Just you and me forever.